I walked into a hotel, expecting to surprise the woman I loved, but instead I caught her tangled up with the man who was supposed to drive us everywhere, and that moment changed everything I thought I knew about loyalty. My name is Julian. I was in my early 30s when I met Celeste. She was bright and full of energy, a woman whose smile could melt every stress off my shoulders. We built a love that felt deep and steady. Even though we were not married, we lived like we were made for each other. Nights filled with shared meals, long talks, and quiet moments that made life feel full. I trusted her with everything I had. I believed she trusted me too. For a long time, our relationship was peaceful. Celeste looked at me like I was her whole world. At least that is what I thought. But slowly, things began to feel different. She became more distracted, more distant. She claimed she needed more time alone. She spent longer hours out of the house, saying she was visiting friends or running errands. She started taking the driver, a man named Troy, with her on every small trip, and insisted she felt safer that way. At first, it made sense, but eventually, their familiarity became unsettling. Celeste laughed a little too freely when Troy spoke. She texted more often when he was around. She seemed to dress up a bit more whenever they left together. I pushed the doubts away. I convinced myself I was imagining it. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. Not with the woman I thought I would spend my life with, but small cracks kept forming. She stopped cuddling at night. She made up excuses to avoid intimacy. She always seemed to have somewhere else to be. One afternoon, she mentioned she was meeting a friend at a nearby cafe. She asked Troy to drive her. Something about the way she said it made a knot twist in my stomach. It was too quick, too rehearsed. I waited a bit, then called her friend. The friend said she had no plans with Celeste. That was the moment my heart dropped. My entire body went cold. I had to know the truth, even if it destroyed me. I tracked the car using a small device I had installed months earlier for safety reasons. The signal led to a hotel on the edge of town. My hands shook as I drove there. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. When I parked, my legs almost refused to move, but I forced myself inside. I asked the front desk if a woman with her description had checked in. They said yes. My chest tightened. They said she was in a suite upstairs. I walked down the hallway, each step a hammer striking my ribs. I reached the door. I heard faint laughter. Celeste's voice, Troy's voice, both too close, too intimate. I opened the door quietly, and there they were. Celeste with her hands on him, their bodies intertwined, their faces inches apart. The scene stabbed into me like a blade. I stood frozen, breath gone, mind numb. When Celeste finally noticed me, she stumbled away from him, eyes wide, face pale. Troy backed up nervously. She tried to speak, but nothing she said could unsee what I had seen. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why. I didn't beg. I simply walked out. My silence shook her more than any words could. I left them staring at the door, knowing their world had just cracked open. But I didn't want messy revenge. I wanted something quiet and clean, something that would echo louder than anger. Over the next few days, I acted calm whenever she came home trying to explain. I didn't accept or reject her words. I simply listened with a blank stare. She was confused, desperate even. She didn't know what I was planning. I gathered evidence, screenshots, photos, receipts. I packed my belongings in small trips when she wasn't around. Then, one morning, I left a single envelope on the table. Inside were all the pieces of truth she thought she could hide. And a simple message: you chose lies over love. I won't carry that weight with you. Then I walked out and never looked back. She tried calling. She tried showing up at places I used to visit. Her messages ranged from angry to pleading to broken. I blocked her everywhere. The man she cheated with never stayed in her life. Once the secret was out, he disappeared, leaving her to deal with the ruins she created. As for me, I focused on healing. I spent time rediscovering things that made me feel alive. I built a life without the cracks her betrayal had carved into me. I learned to choose people who valued honesty over excitement, truth over temptation, loyalty over games. Each day I grew stronger, clearer, steadier. Here's what I learned. Betrayal always circles back to the one who started it. Lies collapse under their own weight, and when someone chooses deception, they end up living in the ruins it creates. Karma might move slowly, but when it arrives, it hits with perfect precision. For more real-life stories of heartbreak, revenge, and transformation, make sure you subscribe to SilkMirror and follow the next journey where justice finds its voice.